Turn on that radio and back here. The cops ain't likely to catch up with us, not tonight. So we can all be quiet and peaceable and listen to the music.
This episode of Auto Dealer Live is brought to you by TrueCar.
The hell, Kenny?
All right. What's up, guys? This is Dave Villa. I'm here with Tommy Elwell.
Good afternoon. It's 3:30. How the heck are you? Glad you came.
I'm doing pretty good, man.
I was talking to them actually, but
How y'all doing? They can't answer you, though.
well, how are you doing then?
I'm doing wonderful, man. Doing wonderful.
Glad to hear.
We are without Dave Cribbs, as you guys can tell. He is in Chicago or on his way to Chicago.
I'm on my way to Chicago, y'all. I don't like flying, so I'm driving the way up there.
Is he driving?
That's what Lou said.
Is he driving?
Yeah, he's driving.
What the heck?
Man, scared to fly.
The Cribbs is.
Wasn't
He
a
was
paratrooper?
airborne
He
like
was, but he jumped out of planes.
Yeah, but
that makes
That's
even
why he was
less
such a
sense.
good. That's why he was such a good paratrooper, because he would jump out of
He's
them.
like, get me out of this thing
Oh, you want me to jump out? Absolutely.
with pleasure.
Yeah, with pleasure. All right, so we're here, though, man. It's going to be a great show. And I know that we're getting to the end of the month, and I know you guys are busy in the car business. As always, want to thank our audience for listening to us. We're going to be on Full Throttle on Facebook, and make sure that you get your comments rolling as we are sharing the feed. Make sure you share it with your friends. I know that some
probably
of
do
our
that.
friends are just getting back from Digital Dealer 23 in Las Vegas, Nevada. We skipped the trip this year. I myself had a Chicago trip. I had a 3-day Chicago trip. You got that playing? You're gonna play that on your phone
Rookie.
there? You gonna play that on your phone there? While I myself had a 3-day a 3-day Chicago trip planned. 2.5 days in Texas doing some training, as well as a week and a half Hawaii trip planned. So I could not go to in between that. I'm working and selling and all of that. And of course, we had this little thing called Hurricane Irma.
Maybe you heard a little bit about it on the news. Maybe you didn't.
Maybe you didn't.
Maybe you didn't because you're like Z up in Canada and he cared less about a hurricane. He doesn't even know what that means. He's
Hey.
hurricane. He's heard about it in books and the television shows and talk about how you say the hurricane.
All right. You all right, man? So we
I
have
get it, all right.
so with that being said, we want to say hi to our friends that are probably coming back hungover from the trip in general, just too much information. Hopefully you're not too information hungover that you can't hang out with Tommy and I today. We've got a great show, man. Tommy, I'm going to kind of jump right into some discussion here because the show is After Hours. And so we're going to talk about the car business. You know, the last car I purchased was for my son. My wife and I purchased a Jeep Wrangler from my son at a somewhat local dealership, maybe 45 minutes away, in June. And we ended up, because we're busy, we're both running a business here, and we work a lot, so we didn't wrap the deal up until 9 o'clock that night. We had done most of the paperwork throughout the day, just went in to sign everything, and we're there until basically 9 o'clock at night because we left here around 6:30, 7 o'clock. So it was a fast deal. That was a couple hours, wasn't that bad.
Yeah, so that was quick.
My son drove in from Orlando, met us there, but I mean, this salesman was there till 9 o'clock. So we're going to talk about after hours. We're going to talk about the hours in the car business. We're going to talk about what's up, Kevin Campbell. What's up, Ben Adler. What's up, Tony Tito. What a name! Tony
Tito Washington. That is a
Tony
cool
Tito
name.
Washington. TTW. TTW.
You love the
in
intro.
house.
Well, we love your name, so we'll
That's
trade
right,
you.
man. That's right.
You know, actually, you said that about after hours. I was doing. We had for whatever reason we decided to go see a buddy of mine in our last car, my wife's Navigator, when she bought that, and we were at the dealership, and I guess we couldn't land on something. It was starting to get dark, so we were like weren't even sure we were going to get. So we looked at the Navigator, we liked it, we driving it. I remember we test drove it. It was dark, so whether it was, I guess it was probably would have been like 7 o'clock. You know, what I mean, not too late, but the deal went to we were there till like 11 o'clock. because by the time we went there, and then they ordered pizza for the kids. It was very nice. It was a friend of ours that we got, but it was like it took that long, and so when instances like that, I'm like, I don't envy you guys at all. When I know that, and then he had to be back in the morning. He had to be back at like 8 or whatever it was. So he literally got to see no family that day. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Tough life.
And I don't want you guys to think we're just going to be talking about like working late, right? I mean, the two scenarios we used, because the title After Hours. And by the way, thanks Tom Stuker for watching. We just got a message. Tom Stuker's watching. What's up, Mr. Tom Stuker? Tom, I'd love to have you call in. We got a jam-packed list of guests today. But if you get a little bit of a a little spur in you, man, that you want to call in, you got the number there on the screen, 813-574-1820. We'd love to hear some of your comments as an automotive expert. One
of the best voices in the car business right there, Mr. Stuker.
Yeah, the guy's got he's got that good voice, and he's but really good voice. And but anyway, we got some great guests. We've got some dealers on. We also have some professionals and some experts in the HR field. And they're going to be on as well. And so here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to what is After Hours, Dave? It's not just working late. It's how to have. Look, you're in an industry that's pressured, right? I mean, you're in an industry that you're only as good as your last month. You got to move the needle. You have to make things happen, right? And but also you're a mom or a dad, or you're maybe going to school part time, or you have kids, or a spouse, and you have a life, right? So how do you balance the work life and not just the and the home life, not just the work life, right? But the successful. How do the rock stars do it? How do you not get so caught up? And we've got a great cast of people on time. We've got Nate Allen. We got about half of our panel today has never been on our show, but some of these are Modern Dealership. By the way, if you're watching, man, go to the Modern Dealership link. Listen, I don't want. Some people are direct messaging, even me, and asking me. I guess they didn't take time to look and see that I was on there as well. They're asking me on Facebook to vote for me. I didn't direct message anybody. I don't think. Right? We didn't direct message not one person, right, Luke?
No,
not
sir.
one person. Okay.
Not one person.
Not one person, and that's cool. But look, vote for who you really would want your dealership. I mean, there's a lot of great people on there. I'll be honest with you. If I owned a dealership, I'm not sure I'd want me out of all those people. There's some really cool people on there.
There is.
But go there and vote, man. And but Modern Dealership, who put the poll on, also. Tommy put out something really cool a couple weeks ago about 20 dealerships that you want to follow on Facebook. Modern Dealership, if you're watching, we wouldn't mind having you call in, because we actually have 3 or 4 of our guests today which were on that list. Melissa Diaz, Business Development Manager at Edwards Chevrolet, is going to be on. Nate D. Allen, auto sales professional at Crest Honda World. Laura Chap Delane, if I said that correctly, sales and leasing consultant at Battleboro Subaru. Of course, we have veteran of the show, phenomenal trainer, dealer principal, and owner of Dealer Elite, Mr. Chris Saraceno. We have Steve Warner, founder and CEO of Automoto HR, which is sponsoring the panel as well. We have Mr. Craig Lockhart, CEO of Automax Recruiting and Training, and then Mr. Kevin Zimick, owner of Ridge Hill Ford in Canada. Tommy, I don't know. That's a pretty doggone good panel, and more than half are calling today and on the show from the Blacktop discussing After Hours, how to manage an effective work life and an effective home life.
Well, I'm interested to hear what they want to say. And if you want to get your voice heard, I don't even know if we'll have time to take any calls today, but we can at least give the number, can't we? It's right there. Dang it.
Yeah, the number's
on camera.
screen.
How come I can't figure this out?
It's right there.
Hey,
There it is.
813-574-18, because I don't.
Just saying.
813-574-1820. Hashtag Auto Deal Live on your social media platforms, and let us hear your voice that way. That may be a better way to get your voice heard today.
We got some voices already coming in on Facebook, Tommy. Why don't you shout their voices out for some of the people who are commenting?
Kevin Fry said, I got home at 2:30 last night, and by the power of Starbucks and 5-hour energy drinks, I've been plugging away all day. What time did you get to work, though? That would be the question, right? Jared McGreevy's excited for Laura Chapdelaine to be on the show, so we got a good show. We're going to talk about this stuff.
Nate D. Allen on the show. We got that there.
He's excited about Nate D. Allen, too.
Hey, go back up to Kevin. Kevin Fry. Listen, here's the deal. Kevin, I'm good. Look, I'm good with the 2:30. I've done it before many a time, right? Traveling, especially coming in. I know you were in Vegas, coming back, getting in late and all of that. Here's my only thing. The Starbucks I'm down with, but those 5-hour energy drinks, that's like drinking horse urine. I mean, I would think. Those
He knows
things are
that.
nasty, bro.
Nasty.
And I'm
He
not
might-
really sure that's not dangerous to some degree. Mixing Starbucks and 5-hour energy drink, like those 5-hour energy drink.
I don't
those
think
little
it's-
like shots of things.
I don't think
there's
it's
something
dangerous
wrong.
with that. I think it's like
Uh,
if you did it with like antifreeze, you might have a problem. You know what I
I'm
mean?
pretty sure.
That's what bikers do.
Kevin Campbell says,
I hear it.
work at a store that employs enough managers so you don't have to work stupid hours to have coverage. Liked, show, more reaction. Wait, that's
Wait, what is that?
Lou showing the Facebook. Let's see, Devin Lynn. Tell me what they say here.
Devin,
Thanks for the shout out.
Thanks for the shout out, Devin Lynn. Team Tom Stuker. Yes, Tom Stuker said he can't do it this week, but he said maybe next week.
Boom.
So, and then what do we got?
And
What
shout
did
out
he
to
say?
5 hours energy drink.
I don't want them. What are you doing? What do you keep doing that for?
Hey Lou, you Lou.
Hey, I'm trying to give you as many comments as I can.
Hey,
but
prayers to Puerto Rico,
Hey.
yo. Puerto Rico.
Yes.
Lou
Yes.
is a resident Puerto Rican here, and they got nailed. So we
Hard.
just pray for them and for a quick recovery over there in Puerto Rico.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to be right back in 60 seconds. Do not go anywhere because up next we have an amazing panel where we are going to be discussing after hours how to manage a strong work life at your dealership and strong family life. And we've got some experts as well to tell us how to hire those. So we're going to give you tips on not only how to do it from the dealer level, but also how to look for the right people who are going to work in today's environment extremely successful. We'll be back with the After Hours panel.
See you in a few.
Hi, I'm Chip Perry. The pledge was and is an action plan designed to address head-on the concerns that many of you told me about right after I took this job. Thus far, our dealer pledge has been aimed at fixing the major pain points that you told us about related to our product, our customer service, and our consumer advertising. I'd like to reiterate that our dealer pledge is our ongoing commitment to you, our dealer customers, and we will continue to work hard to improve our service to you.
Dave Cribbs here, Serial Sales Pro Trainer, talking about our upcoming Internet BDC Boot Camp. Look, it's no secret that every dealer is focused in this area. Arguably, our best leads are coming in either through Internet, through outbound phone calls, or most importantly, that inbound call that's arguably now the best up that we have. Now, when we have ups on our showroom floor, we're all over them when it comes to process and what we're doing, and we see what's happening. But oftentimes in the internet, it's overlooked, and here's where we are missing opportunities, and this is really the new playground, if you will, for process and interaction with customers. So join us for our BDC boot camp, where we're not only going to talk about selling the appointment rather than the car, but more importantly, selling the appointment that sticks, that shows. Join myself, John Marazzi, managing partner of Brandon Honda Sun Toyota, a history of taking dealerships to a whole new crazy level, and others at our Serial Sales Pro Boot Camp, Internet BDC, coming up soon. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Chip.
All right, guys, we're back, man. Thank you for hanging out with us. What a great show. Highly anticipated. We have the After Hours panel. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and bring our experts on so you can hear from them. We posted on Facebook. By the way, this panel is presented by Automoto HR, and we have the founder and CEO of that company on as well. Ooh. But we posted just now on Facebook, and I want to go ahead and just mention this as well. The first 10 questions that come in from our listeners, we'd like to get to the first 10 questions. If you have a question or comment in the form of a question for our panel regarding how to effectively balance a successful and high grossing very high producing work life with a very high grossing and high producing home life. We want to hear it. And so without further ado, let's bring Kevin Zimick, Craig Lockhart, Steve Warner, Chris Saraceno, Laura Chap-Delane, Nate D. Allen, and Melissa Diaz on. And I'm going to go straight to Mr. Chris Saraceno, the Vice President and partner at Kelly Automotive Group, also founder of Dealer Elite. And Chris, you know, I know that you have you're big on culture. You got a brand new book that's going to be coming out, or one that you're writing that I'm excited to hear about as well. And but Chris, with regards to people, it's a big deal to you. You know, you've always been such a big proponent. You've got a lot of employees, and you know, you mentioned, I remember last year, maybe even a little longer than that, on one of our former shows, on the importance of, I think you used a scenario of what do you do when you have maybe a lady or someone. I'm using an example of a woman that goes on maternity leave, you know, that's worried about the hours, you know, or she just had a baby and she doesn't have the ability for to just to do some of the things that maybe some dealers would demand. And so I want you to kind of start this off and discuss what are some of the things that that strategies that you lay out in your culture and your dealership with regards to, hey, I need you to produce. We need to hit our numbers. We need to be dynamic, but we understand, and not only do we understand, we foster and promote a healthy home life. Why don't you kick us off, man?
Well, one of the, I think, most important things is the leaders actually sharing during the hiring process and during the orientation process their philosophy. So one of the things we talk about is we call it the tyranny of the or and the genius of the and. And the tyranny of the or is when you have people that have what we call a limiting belief of these two conflicting paths where they say, listen, I could either be really good in business, or I could be a good family person, or I could have my health. And we state that's if you have that belief, that's what's going to happen. And the genius of the and is that we say, listen, you can have an exceptional business and life. You can, and you could be an exceptional spouse, and you could be an exceptional parent, and you can have exceptional health and fitness, and you can have the spirituality in one life. So the first part is believing it, and saying, as the leaders, letting them know that don't get stuck in what we call the tyranny of the or, that you think you have to do one or the other. You can be. There are people out there. There's plenty of people that have a great business life. They do exceptional in finances. They're great husbands and wives. They're great parents. So we talk about, one, the philosophy of the and versus the or, and then we talk about how to do it. And part of how to do it is putting a plan in place, just like anything else in life. There's got to be a plan. So we talk about that during the hiring process, the tyranny of the or versus the genius of the and. We talk about the importance of planning. If you're going to be in a business where all of a sudden there's going to be nights where you're there till 9 o'clock at night, or you think you're leaving at 9, and all of a sudden you're there till 11 o'clock at night, the last day of the month, and how to handle that with a spouse. We offer that if a spouse wants to come in and talk, so we could talk about how to handle things, in a business like we're in, and we believe that we're to be forthright and upfront about the way the business is and the way things are and how important it is to plan. So that's a little bit we believe as far as leaders. It's important that you talk about this up front, that the philosophy you have to have.
That's good. That's good. I'm going to ask the same question to Kevin Zimick, another owner in Canada at Ridge Hill Ford. And Kevin, you heard what Chris said, and I don't think that there's anything that anybody would disagree with. Maybe you can add something to that as we kind of set the tone for the rest of the show.
Well, I agree with everything you did say. I was frantically taking notes here. I love the line, tyranny of the or and the genius of the and. It kind of summarizes my thoughts on it as well. I think, the key issue for us is right from, as Craig said, right from onboarding to every day in the dealership, as the leaders in this business, whether you be the dealer, if you're fortunate enough to have leaders at a management level, they have to live it, and as the owner and the leader, you have to give them permission to do so. So how do you give them permission? It's not just something that you say. You have to foster the environment. We provide an environment for our people to succeed against their KPIs every day. Do we provide them the environment to say it's okay to talk about spouses, to talk about how Sarah's doing in ballet classes, how Jimmy's doing in soccer, how they're coming along with their class of car restoration, or what's happening at church on Sundays, things like that. And I think if you talk about it during onboarding, tell them that it's okay, that this culture and the way we run this business, we give you permission to shut down and disengage. We encourage you to take your vacation, the quarterly hour review vacation with my managers and their staff, and call them out on it and say, when are you taking it? Don't take it on Fridays and Mondays unless you feel you need to. Take it in a block, shut down, recharge, and it's okay to do that. I know a lot of the bravado in this business in the past is that, well, that's retail and we grind it out, and all the chest hair testosterone stuff of what this business can be like. But as the leader in the business, give it permission to be okay to do it. Talk about it regularly. It is a line item in my management meetings where we talk about not only who's on vacation, where are they going, or why haven't they gone yet, and things like that. So engage in the conversation regularly, and they'll realize, you know what? Hey, I guess this is okay to do, and he is walking the walk. The thing that I fail at, and I'll wrap it up here, is I am not walking the walk. I'm talking the walk and encourage my staff to do it. But as you know, leaders eat last. They also celebrate and leisure last. And I need to be better at that and certainly set the tone better. So lots to learn. I'll be listening as much as talking here today.
That's good. And before I roll to you, because I know that we have a couple of owners on, then we have some incredibly talented sales individuals and those who work for owners, and then we have a couple of individuals that are responsible for bringing on talent, finding talent. And I want to hear from all of them. But one of the things Kevin just mentioned, I think that we all have to understand as leaders as well. You mentioned the book "Leaders Eat Last," Simon Sinek. But one of the things I would say about that is it's very difficult when you have that responsibility. But you hit it on the head, Kevin, and I think that's very important. But Tommy, moving forward and looking at some of those from the other perspective, what's your? I mean, somebody that works here, how important is it to you? And then maybe you can translate that into some of the other.
Well, honestly, we're pretty blessed here. When it's all said and done, we work a 40-hour week. It's 9 to 6, Monday through Friday, and so we don't have that same grind.
But we used to.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, we don't have to. Yeah, we don't. I mean, we don't have that same weekend grind. And I know,
car business you have to. But.
I know it's the nature of the biz, and I know it's the nature of the beast. And at the end of the day, and I wonder how common like Kevin and Chris's mentality is, because those guys sound very reasonable. And maybe it's they've lived and they've learned and they've seen it didn't work the way where guys were getting just getting blacked out and getting burnt out and would quit or whatever.
Maybe going to another industry. I think that's.
That's why there's so many people on the vendor side of things. That's why they see the vendor side of things so appealing, because hey, I can still stay in the car business, but I can not work 80 hours a week and drink myself to death, or not get any sleep, or or all the things that are related to it. We actually had a comment on. And how about Laura Chapdelaine? Are you there, Miss?
I am.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. Doing well.
By the way, great video, Laura. Great video. You're a natural on that. I know that you were beating yourself up, but our video team thought you did very well on that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we had somebody on Facebook comment, and I think we can direct this to you. So Joey Perez said, "What can a..." Really, you gonna do that while I'm in the middle of reading it? What can a dealership offer to empower a good home life? For example, sponsoring a marriage counseling or a gym membership or actual time to go to the gym. What is in your opinion, as a rep,
bonuses,
as a salesperson, what could a dealership do to incentivize
Perks.
you? Yeah, what's a good perk for you on your time?
Oh.
What?
Interesting question. I guess the first thing I would say is when somebody is interviewing, to be really, really upfront about the fact that you're building your own business. You're not, you're not really working for somebody else in that sense. So to understand and make sure your spouse is on board with that too, that, you're building to the point where hopefully you're referral based, that you are more of an appointment based situation. And hopefully they'll understand, those first few years are really, and that's where I am, I'm starting to get to the point where the referrals are getting really strong, that, you're in a building process. And it's going to lead to better things for everybody over time. I would say A staggered, weekend schedule would be really nice so that you could have one Saturday, Sunday stretch off a month. I think that's really important. I also think just making sure that spouses and families feel really welcome is another. I mean, there's just a general atmosphere you can create. I know my kids aren't, little anymore, but I'm lucky enough to have a couple of coworkers whose children are, and they're always welcome. I mean, it's always, appropriate. They're, either there for like the last half hour while mom is, finishing up and they're coloring, or they're coming around and visiting us. So I think it's, sometimes it's maybe not as much of a specific perk as just making sure your family feels welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Laura. And so I want to, is Nate on as well? Nate, okay, good. I want to go to,
What's up, Nate?
hey, Nate. I want to ask you this, and kind of staying along the same vein for a second here. We're going to get everybody on here, so we'll get to everybody here. We got a lot of comments coming in, but somebody had said, Lou, if you're scroll down to that last one of the last comments that you put up there, that was a short comment, but it was Silas Blackwell says, as an ex-tech at a dealership, the pay needs to be better. Scroll down to Kenny Landrum. And I want to ask somebody about this, right? Kenny Landrum, my dealer has an 8-hour shift. Every 6 weeks, we get Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. It works for us, but I remember when we used to be bell to bell, keeps us fresh. So there's different. Listen, we understand the industry we're in, and we understand, like, I think it was either, might have been, it was either Kevin or Chris that was talking earlier about, somebody, there till late at night. It's just the nature of the beast. I mean, you're selling cars and you're selling to consumers who possibly, like myself and my wife that I mentioned in the monologue, couldn't come in till after work. So, but I guess, let me ask us, Nate, I mean, Laura mentioned, or Silas had mentioned more money, but everyone wants to make more money in sales, but if you looked at a schedule where you get some time off, okay, now put yourself in the position of a dealer for a second, and because we're trying to solve this, and then at the same time you want to get more money, which which is good, but you want time off possibly, but if you added more people because there needs to be a softer schedule or a different schedule, it requires more people. My question would be, do you run into, and this may be a question for the dealers, but would you run into a scenario where you have people that aren't able to reach certain levels of income, no matter what, and you know what happens there? Somebody gets kind of capped out because there's just maybe too many people to sustain the growth. I mean, do you run into something like that, Nate, if you get too kind of squirrely with the scheduling? What's your thoughts?
Hey, thanks so much for asking. And I can definitely relate with what Laura's saying. And really my experience to be able to combat that, I really have to just focus on building up my own value at the dealership in order to request that time off. But it would be awesome if the dealership had a way to structure that into the schedule, kind of like what Kenny Landrum. It sounds like every 6 weeks they have a whole weekend off, which I think is well worth it. But as far as adding extra salespeople in order to keep people on the floor, I guess, for the hours that the dealership's open, it sounds like, it's kind of, that's something that this dealership I just came to here in June 1st here in Norfolk, Virginia, they've added some salespeople and, there's like pros and cons for each one. Just to try to stay on topic, it seems like there should be an incentive for those people who are able to act as a business within a business and set the appointments and bring in new business. To me, it seems like that it would make sense for the people that are consistently performing to have a little more flexibility over the late hours.
Yeah.
So
you're saying possibly like maybe you're saying if you're a producer and you're showing, hey, you know what, I'm gaining your trust, earning your trust by producing and making it happen, and you see that, I'm going to make it happen no matter what. Give me some flexibility here, and I promise you, not only will I make it happen, I'll probably be even happier and make it happen even more. I mean, is it?
Right.
Let me ask Steve Warner. Steve, you're founder of Automoto HR. I mean, you guys find people. I mean, look, I've been in the auto industry for over 20 years. A lot of the people on this panel have been in it for a while, and I've watched people come and go. I've watched a lot of talented people come and go, and some of the reasons that individuals who are talented haven't even come and worked for me at times is because I say, oh, well, we service the auto industry. Then all of a sudden, like, I don't know if they automatically envision a plaid jacket, slick-haired, cigar-smoking, shiny-shoed person standing there. I'm not really sure. But, I mean, something happens, and maybe there's a perception. So, Steve, is it possible? Is that something that you guys struggle with when you're trying to find, talented people? Steve Warner, founder and CEO of Automoto HR.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I absolutely do. One of the problems that is dealers don't. The perception of a salesperson in a dealership is very different than any other industry. Mm-hmm. They're not really perceived as professionals, and oftentimes the dealers or the dealerships don't treat them as professionals. So, if you're given a certain amount of time to produce, so it's like a limited time, you'll oftentimes come out, you'll make the time and you'll set up your structure of your time so that you can produce when you need to. The old days of the bell to bells didn't make salespeople sell any more than if you were to have a structured time schedule. So.
I mean, okay, thank you. And so you're seeing that it does affect when recruiting and reaching out and dealing with the personnel aspect. I mean, that's something that I'm sure that is challenging. And Tommy,
I just wonder if it's purely, is it purely just that people, they can't keep good people because it's too much? Anybody can answer this, I guess. Is it the flexibility in some of these things having to come from just not being able to keep good people because they just can't justify the hours for the money they're making, for the headache and all that?
And before you guys answer that, I think that let's look at it this way. I mean, the manufacturers, the OEMs are mandate, virtually new buildings, right? The buildings, I mean, Kevin and Chris, I mean, are state of the art, right? They look nice. It's like walking into a freaking Apple store. I mean, it really is. I mean, you walk into a new Honda store or these new dealerships, I mean, they're very, very nice. I mean, so you got this here, right? Cars look better than they ever have. I mean, it's really, there's no reason why this industry can't be, I mean, for goodness sakes, BMW, I bought my 7 Series and they got a Genius, I don't know where they get that from, right? They got a Genius that's going to help me hook my car up. I'm not really sure if Genius was the right name for this part. They didn't do anything. They didn't. I almost had to teach him how to do it with my car. I had more research, by the way, on my car than he knew, but that's another story. But I mean, so Genius or whatever. But I mean, that's so they're going along the lines. I think they have a lot of the right ideas. But I mean, do one of you guys want to tackle that? I mean, isn't the industry poised to really get into a place where some excellent people can enter this industry, stay in this industry, and take this industry to the next level?
I wouldn't mind answering that. This is Chris Saracino. Well, first of all, I do believe we have some excellent, awesome people in this business, and we have to remember this is retail hours. Mm-hmm. Just no different than and the money you can make in an automotive dealership in compared to most retail dealerships where they're open from 9 to 5 is exceptional. And I believe that if you look at reality, there's always going to be long hours, and even if you limit the hours and say, hey, you can work a 40-hour week, there's going to be people that get so passionate, this isn't really work for them anymore. They love it. It's their new sport. Mm-hmm. And they're going to be here no matter what. We have our top sales consultants, if you sell over 16 cars, you can work your own schedule. Mm-hmm. Guess what? The people selling the most cars that can work their own schedule still work the most hours. I really believe it comes down to sitting down with the individual. For example, you have somebody working a lot of hours, and then I find out that that this young man is going out with all the guys and drinking at night rather than going home to his wife. That's where we have to coach him and say, listen, you work and then you go home and you spend time with your spouse and you focus and you have date night and you treat them well. Years ago, I read an article where the average father spent 3 hours of quality time with their child. So you have to talk about that and say, listen, you may put more hours, spend quality time, do one-on-one, do walks, do sports, do this. So again, this is retail hours. There's exceptional people in this business. There's always going to be people that want to work hours. Even if you give them the flexibility, they will work it. I believe a big part of our job is coaching them and say, this is how you behave. If you want to have the genius of the and, you can have a great life in business and as a parent and as a spouse and in health and spirituality. You can have it all if you plan it, but it's not going to happen if you don't plan this.
I love that. Melissa Diaz, we haven't got you in yet, business development manager, Edwards Chevrolet, Downingtown in 280. I mean, Melissa, did you hear what? Actually, tell me, I really agree with that. And Melissa, I mean, me personally, I haven't thought of that in a long time, Chris. I thank you for bringing that to light, because the truth is, giving somebody that flexibility, that might be part of it. It's kind of like giving your kid, right, teaching them right, and then giving them the ability to make their own decisions, and they do it not because they have to anymore. They do it because it's the right thing to do. Yeah. And so it's kind of like saying, hey, sure, you're a producer, and that's maybe what Nate Allen was saying, and you could have a flexible schedule, but then a hustler and someone who serves their customers and wants to make a better income and wants to do right, Melissa, they're going to probably work more hours than anyone else as well. I mean, what do you say, Melissa? You haven't had a chance to chime in yet.
Definitely. I mean, I agree with that. I know for myself, I've had a lot of opportunity in the dealerships that I'm at, and it has come from not necessarily having to be here the hours I do or I am, but going above and beyond because I do have the passion. And I think I've seen that amongst several of my coworkers. You know, at this point, I'm actually in finance, and even in this type of position, I don't have the ability to go home. But when I get the late customer at 8 o'clock at night, I find the passion in wanting to close the deal with them and create that relationship. So it doesn't bother me to stay at 9, and I'm a mother of 2. Mm-hmm. But because of the planning, and I think that he said that very well, if you plan ahead of time all the things that you want, you'll find the time to still have the passion for what you do, but also fit in being a mother, having time for, time for your spouse, spiritually, different things like that. So it's all about the planning, and it's all about knowing yourself and what's most important to you.
Awesome. We're going to read Craig Locker. We're going to get you on here. Yeah. Let's read these. Let's read some questions. Yep. Let's throw a question out. We got some questions that came in on Facebook, Tommy. We got about 4 or 5 that we want to read here.
Yes, I was trying to. Tom Stuker sent an article. I was trying to read it, but I can't. All right. Brett Albright. My dealership has us on an A/B schedule. We rotate early night, late night. Early is 8 to 6, and late is 8 to 8. No Saturdays off. Period. It's overwhelming for people with big families. I have 4 kids in sports, so I guess he's probably overwhelmed. Let's see. We got
we'll ask this to Craig.
Who's that?
Craig Locker. We'll give this question to Craig.
Okay, Craig Locker, you with us, sir?
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Awesome. Welcome to the show. Damien Bourdreau said, "What do you have to be proud of? A 30-day trophy. It's the end of the month it's the end of the month of the counts. Everyone's replaceable, and managers take a pissed off pill to start the day. Why stay?"
Okay. Sounds like Damien's having a bad month. I'm not really sure. I don't know. But that question just popped up there, Craig. I'm not really sure.
Damien just actually commented that he is one of the number 1 Chevy salespersons. Sells about 141.
Okay, so let's see here. Okay,
so maybe we're reading it wrong.
Maybe he's actually he's asking a sarcastic question to people, I think, Craig, who complain about the hours. Maybe that's what. So he's a roll that back again, Lou. So Damien Craig is basically saying, okay, let's say it this way. Now we're going to kind of say it with a little bit of the 2 that he's saying. He's saying, hey, what do you have to be proud of? A 30-day trophy. It's the end of the month that counts. Everyone's replaceable, and managers take a pissed off pill to start the day. Why stay?
No, I think it's still the same thing.
Because he's the number 1 sales guy. I mean,
he's the number 1 sales guy. Of course, he's going to say that. He's like, yeah, these other schmoes who aren't selling as many cars as me.
But he's
I don't
asking
know why they
them,
would.
like, why do you have to? What do you have to complain about? So, Craig, why don't you just go ahead and you know what? Say whatever you want, Craig. How about that?
There you go.
Okay. This is all pretty interesting. You know, being I've been in the business 44 years, so I've seen a lot of different processes, and this topic's been kicked around since the beginning of time. It's kind of appropriate. Stephen and I spoke at Digital Dealer, which you mentioned, David, earlier, and the name of our session was, "Did you hire him dead, or did you kill him after you got him?" And I think that's a really darn good question for all of us to really answer. I know just personally from my time in retail in the car business, and it's painful to say that literally between my 4 children, I can count on two hands the number of sporting events that I went to in my kid's life because I was at the store. I was at the store. I wasn't out doing some of the things that I think Chris mentioned. That there's two ways to do this. Are you at the store? Or are you out drinking with your buddies? I was at the store working, to provide a living for the kids. But I flipped the coin and it came up that way. However, in saying that, I think today we do, and Chris alluded to this, and I think Kevin said it as well in different ways. This is the retail business, and we do have to work retail hours. And the person that's going to uber succeed in any industry is going to have to put in the time and the effort. There's just no question about it. However, when you really think about it, and we all complain about a lack of talent, there isn't, I don't know, I've yet to meet the dealer or manager that says, I have an overabundance of talent, I have zero problem getting people. It's like they flood my place. Everybody wants to work here. Right. I've not heard that person, I've not met that person yet. He or she may be out there, I haven't met them yet. Well, but however many people there are in the workforce, if there's 200 million people in our workforce, and I'm just going to anecdotal guess at percentages, but we're cutting out a gigantic, huge percentage of potential talent to come into our dealership because of some of the obscene hours and what we ask some people to do. Midnight madness, grabbing up at 9 o'clock and be there till 11:30. And I don't know everybody's experience on this panel, but running a lot of stores and selling cars, those deals that come in at 9 o'clock, if you made them, you didn't make much on them, and they would grind you out till 11 o'clock, and then, we got to think about it, or they unwind the following morning. So maybe that's just my experience, but I think if we can position ourselves as dealers and managers and leaders, what's wrong with extending the dealership's hours and reducing the number of hours the employees work and go to teams? Yeah. Give the person that has manageritis, give them an opportunity to run a team, to run a desk, and create an environment where we're actually open more to the public and more convenient to buyers. Yet we reduce the hours to our staff.
That's good. Let me ask this: does Kevin, you want to take a crack at that? What do you think about the idea? I guess at the end of that comment that Craig kind of posed out there, maybe is that a good idea in general? Extending store hours and then putting teams together. I mean, is that a thought? Is that one business model that might have some merit?
Well, it certainly does have merit. I don't know if it's something that I'd pursue. Things are a little different up here in Canada, eh? So when you imply different people, our benefits packages and what we're obligated to pay are basically what their salary would be, and another 60% on top. So for each element of headcount that we put in place, that's and it can be a little prohibitive, without question. But it's all good ideas are certainly worth merit, and I guess might be different based on geography or nation. But I think that one idea that I have is, we are such a results-driven, a KPI-oriented company. What about the notion of here's another notion. What about the notion of KPIs including discussions or elements of a vacation conversation? You get people in and you go through the KPIs and what your expectations are with people. And maybe the expectation should be, try and put what they do in their leisure time and their family first, assuming, given the benefit of the doubt, that your pay plan is going to drive them to do their very best for you in the dealership. So that being a given and having faith in that, and that if you have a strong enough management team that's driving that, then the conversation between you as the leader of the organization and your people should be much more of a lighthearted nature where you're talking about things that matter. And here comes a double standard, which could really stir it up. But I find I have those conversations, and they're very fulfilling with the women that I employ in my organization. But with guys, I apply a double standard and maybe a little bit about sports or talking about horsepower. But other than that, it's all about what have you done for me lately? Are you hitting KPIs? Because as a guy, that's what I identify with. And when I speak to the women that I employ, it's more about socially what they do and assume they've got the KPIs taken and all that kind of junk. Maybe I just don't know how to relate to them well enough and should say, hey, you know what, it's okay to engage in that conversation because all my people here that I've hired are good, solid family people. Maybe I just need to talk more to them about it.
That's good. I'm going to ask Laura and Melissa this because my wife just texted me. My wife is actually the CFO here, but she also, as a partner, has the area of responsibility of our business development center. We have Lara Sora is our team leader and manager in the BDC, and we have Jennifer, our team leader. So we have a lot of women in charge. And my wife just texted me, which I stay far away from this because she's, she does a really good job, and so she runs it. Our BDC had a shift, she said, that was every Saturday. This is to Melissa. I'll give this to you and Laura, and I'll ask what you think. She's our BDC here had a shift that was every Saturday. Over time, we wanted to encourage involvement of personal life, family, wives, sports, etc. So we went to a rotating Saturday shift. For us, just every third Saturday off. Happy home lives create better employees. Melissa, what do you and Laura? I mean, as women, because let's just look. I know that sometimes we don't like to. We're not stereotyping, but the bottom line is, we do have. Primarily different, sometimes age groups, millennials, sometimes, versus, a baby boomers, and different people have different expectations and different priorities. So as a woman, what do you like about what my wife said, Laura and Melissa? Laura,
in our BDC, what we had set up. In our BDC, what we had set up was the rotating Saturdays. I think that worked really well for everyone who we had on that team. That gave them time away. But again, looking at the expectations of the different positions in the dealership, if my position in finance now, I cannot take off a Saturday, so it is more a bell to bell. And however, I get the flexibility that if I do have something come up with my children or I need to run out for something for them, because I have the dedication, I'm able to take off the time. And we kind of, depending on what your position is and what the expectation is on the hours, that's kind of how we run, giving somebody the time off that they need.
Okay. Melissa, did you want to comment on that?
Well, that was Melissa. This is Laura.
Oh, I'm sorry, Laura. So we had Laura's picture up. Go ahead.
Well, I would say, my husband actually works in retail. He's in grocery, so it's a totally different thing. But, Saturday's the big day. So that's the question. Do you want to give up that day? Do you want to lose those opportunities? I'm on the floor. I've never been in BDC. I like the idea of how BDC, at least in our store, has extended hours in the evenings. Typically what happens is we have one person, and I believe at this point all our BDC people do have young children. Yeah, I'm almost positive. Let's see, the three main ones do, yes. So they have it staggered where one is able to go home at 5, and then we have one person there until 7, and then one person at home typically picks back up again at about 8 and works until 10, so they can do live chatting, live interacting with people. And our GM actually encourages these people. We have a couple women and a couple men to say, "Hey, I'll be back in a couple seconds. I have to put my girls to bed," or just finishing up dinner or something like that. Making it very real and personal, but also actually meeting your responsibilities at home too. So he sees that as a plus, and I think customers do too. And I was just going to say that too. I don't have a problem if it's my day off. I'm always going to want to acknowledge like an email or something, but I don't have a problem saying, "Hey, it's my day off. Thanks for emailing in. I'll get back to you tomorrow. If you need something right away, here's my sales manager's information." So I think that's what I was going to say too, leveraging technology as much as you can. Generally, people just want to know, if they've been acknowledged, there's a question there, but if it's urgent, here's who you can talk to next.
That's good.
Joe Morales on Facebook said, "No base salary kills the average person from starting in this business. For example, start at Merrill Lynch and base pay is $48,000 plus bonuses." He said that's incentive. Have a friend just left the car business to start. He was a 9-year car guy selling 23 to 26 cars a month and no Saturdays. So Who do you want to address that to?
I think Nate might be. I mean, Nate, do you agree with that statement? I mean, no salary, no base salary might be something that hurts this industry. What's your thoughts on that?
Hey, thanks for asking. I really think it depends on each pay structure, because I worked at a place in Nashville for 3 years. They had a certain way they did it, and down here, in Nashville, the dealership had a $2,000 draw, so it wasn't really a base salary; it was a draw. And the dealership I work at now has a base salary. I think it really depends on how all the factors of the pay plan fit together. To me, I really don't care. What I care about is how all the pieces fit together when I sell 15, 20, or 25 in a month. I want to know what that overall equation looks like. I really don't think about too much like what the base is. Just because now I'm not focusing on living paycheck to paycheck. Because I've learned how to manage money a little bit better. But maybe for a lot of people, it's more important to have like a draw during the slow time. But for me, I'm more focused on like a 3-month rolling average of what my overall impact is and how that's gonna turn into income. Over not just 1 week or 2 weeks. So I'm not too concerned. I'm just concerned with what the overall factors are and how that lines up to the total income. If that makes sense.
I think. Go ahead.
David.
Yeah.
David, it's Craig. May I?
Go ahead.
It absolutely. We're just fortunate because of the scope of what we do nationwide. I can assure everyone on the phone in maybe different pockets, and there are different people that are motivated by different things. But broad stroke, the volume of people that we as dealers have the ability to choose from, it absolutely positively makes a difference on whether or not they're going to consider getting into the car business or not. In terms of sales, whether BDC, floor sales, or internet, it without question makes a difference. It makes a difference in the fixed operations portion of the dealership as well. It's all changing. The days of flat commissions, straight commissions, and bell to bells are done. People want Apple employees, quote unquote, but they're not willing to create an environment or processes that allow that talent to even consider our industry. It's real simple.
Thank you, Craig.
This is Chris Saraceno. I agree. Whenever we have a general manager that is willing to say, you know what, let's give a salary. We're going to do this way, or even if they say we're going to give it for 3 months or 6 months, the amount of candidates we get and the quality of candidates we get dramatically increases. And then what happens is if they don't produce right away, everybody gets scared. They start looking at all the net to gross. They start looking at the percentages, and all of a sudden we back away, and then somebody jumps back on it. So it's sort of a roller coaster that I've seen, but you absolutely get more candidates and the quality of candidates. Now, once you're in the industry and you're doing it for years, I think there's people that don't care at all, and they look at it and say, you know what, I like my commission plan because if I go to that salary unit-based pay plan, I'm going to have my pay plan cut in half. And when I look at the comment, when I look at the comment where somebody was selling 26 cars or 23 cars and they quit, they were probably working at a store, and not to put a certain franchise down, but they were probably working at an import store selling 23 cars, making $70,000 a year, versus working at a store selling 23 to 26 cars, making $160,000. Because if they were making $160,000, they never would have left to go work at Merrill Lynch. To take, because they wouldn't mind working those Saturdays if they were making the extra money.
That's good, Chris, and that's coming from someone who obviously knows the business like that can pick that up really quick, because the numbers don't lie.
I know there's whenever I talk to one of our local import stores that's right next to us, I talk to people. They sell 26 cars. They're making $70,000, $80,000 a year, and then they can, if they were working with us, they'd be making $200,000 doing that at a domestic store. But it's that perception. I just don't see somebody leaving for a $40,000 salary that's selling 23, 26 cars, making $160,000.
That's good.
I think part of it too, though. I think you can make the argument that keeps people out of sales in general. People will say, "Oh, I won't go to sales."
It keeps them from getting into it.
Yeah, well, in general, not just car sales, but that's the thing. But the benefit is so much so that. Yeah, there is a little risk. You're going to have to be uncomfortable. You're going to have to maybe stretch yourself and do things that you maybe don't feel, there's no safety net But at the end of the day, the reward and no cap is a big deal, and that's way better than somebody telling you how much money you can make.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So
Absolutely. We are getting rapidly getting out of time.
Yeah,
And so we let me ask this. I want to give Kevin Zimick. I do want to say one comment here, and then I'm gonna let you guys kind of run down here for a couple of you guys that haven't talked in a while. Go down to Kevin Fry's comment. I want to throw this out, and Kevin, maybe you could give your closing remarks and kind of touch on this here. But Kevin Fry did say this, going back to the retail hours for a second. He said it is, quote, retail hours. He said, but do other retailers require ding-to-dong? Is that the way it is at a shopping mall? But one of the things I thought of when I read that question is that maybe the advantage that a shopping mall has is everybody in the mall has to close at the same time. You know what I mean? So if a dealer across the street wants to take you out, they just stay open 2 hours later. That could be and has been something that's happened. So I think that might be a little different. Even though we are on dealer row, doesn't mean you have to stay open. Mall kind of mandates that. But give your closing remarks, Kev, and we'll go down and give a couple other people here a chance to do that as well.
Well, my quick commentary on what Kevin Fry said is that, I think it takes courage, and it takes courage to kind of put yourself out. I hear what you're saying about being in a dealer mall and the other dealer eating you alive because you're not open the 2 hours you just open. I just came back from 2.5 days of 20 group, and I'll tell you, there was 2 dealers that are there who just made the decision, had the stones to make the decision. We're shutting down on Saturdays, and they're even shutting down earlier on Fridays and not going to 9 o'clock Fridays because they feel the return that they will get on allowing their people to disengage and exhale a little bit, enjoy some leisure time during the nice months here in Canada, those 3.5 days between snowfalls that we call summer, and go out and enjoy themselves and their families. And they feel the payback was worth it. What they did do was utilize social media in other ways. They were actually put it right on their dealership doors saying, hey, this is what we're choosing to do because we feel they have the right to be with their families like anybody else would. And I think it worked well for them. It's certainly something that we're certainly considering that for sure. So it takes courage, and it starts at the top, and it's certainly given me a lot to think about, as has a lot of other things here. So I thank you for having us on, man. I'm glad you guys are dry again in Tampa. We love you.
Thank you very much, Kevin. I appreciate it. And we heard from Craig just now, and then we heard from Chris. And I want to ask, I'll give Melissa, and Melissa, give us your closing remarks.
Thank you again for having me on. I think that some of the biggest stuff that has been touched on is just, standing up for yourself when you do need that extra time and making the most of that time. If you have a family at home, make sure they understand what's going on. When you have the opportunity, bring them into the dealership. It's important for everyone that you work with, for your team, to know who you have at home and what's going on. And I think that makes for a happy work life and home life as well.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
And let's go to, what do you say, Nate? Nate Allen.
Let's do Nate. Sure.
Nate Allen. Nate here. Closing remarks for me.
You're not going to play the guitar, brother? You're not going to play. Hey, you're not going to play the guitar, man? Those of you that didn't see that, you got to check out his promo video. That was awesome.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, some things that I thought about to share were just roles and goals. For me to be well-rounded, for me to be my optimal charisma energy, I have to take that time to recharge. And so one thing that's been helpful for me that I learned is just to coach my customers via text message. If they can text me 30 minutes before showing to the dealership, as soon as they get to the dealership, it's very simple. But just getting them on board with texting me their next move helps me manage my time when I'm at the dealership. And when I'm at the dealership, I try to use every single minute to maximize my productivity. That is shown to my management team. Then when I need some time off or I need to leave a little bit early, if they know that I've got my planner clean, I've made my calls, I've set the appointments, they're almost every single time going to be like, even if it's 3 hours early, they're going to be like, all right, Nick, we appreciate you, buddy. And I've had to put in for some time off in October and December. It wasn't even a question. So, if someone is in one of those places where they don't have the structure already built into the infrastructure to get the time off, just know that usually if you build up the value at the dealership, the management will see that and recognize it. And so when I came to work at this place, at the new place, I spoke with the management beforehand. I told them that the one thing that motivates me more than anything is to be able to know that I can have time off when I need it. And I promise you, if we can work together, I will produce, and in return, the thing I want more than anything is just to be able to have some time off for key family events. And so far,
Good.
in the beginning, setting that expectation, the management said, "Hey, Nate, we'd love to have you. We'll work with you." And over the past 3 months in this new location, I've been able to perform, and the dealership has honored what we talked about early on, and they've given me the time when I need it. So
Can't lose
it's one of
with
those kinds of
You can't lose with the stuff Nate uses, man. You can't lose with that, brother. That's good stuff right there. Somebody comes to me and says, "Man, hey, you give me this, and I promise you, I don't care how you do it. You know what I mean? You produce. I mean, as an owner, right? I mean, the guys that are listening, as you produce. I mean, my goodness, that's all you can ask for. Let's give I'm going to give Steve. I'm going to give you the final word in a minute because I know that I want to ask you also how somebody can reach out. But Laura and Chris here, give us your final words as well, Laura.
Okay, I would just say, everyone expects to work long hours, but I think our goal is for them to be productive hours. So everything I do is based toward moving toward an appointment-based business. So the more mentoring you can get early on about how to achieve that, instead of just throwing somebody out and saying, wait for the up bus, showing them how to build the brand, showing them how to accelerate the referral-based type of business that we all want. So we're not waiting, waiting around until 7 o'clock at night and then having to grab that person who kind of wanders in after having dinner next door. To me, that's really a key part of it. It might be long hours, but are they fully productive hours? Because then you're going to feel like you really accomplished something when you went home to your family.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for being on the show, Laura. And Mr. Chris Saraceno, your final take on things, sir.
All right. 4 quick comments. Retail is retail is one. People quit managers and not companies. 3 is work with your team members that are talented and results oriented. You got to flex and work with those people that are producing. And most dealerships I work with, if you're a producer, they work with you. And there's nothing more important than human capital in growing any business. So it's all about getting human capital to grow your business.
Speaking of human capital, we're going to give the final word to Steve Warner. I know you and Craig are doing some amazing things, together as well. A founder, CEO of Automoto HR. Stephen, I mean, you've heard everything. Give us your final remarks, and at the end, tell dealers how they can help, how you can help them with this subject of human capital.
Thanks, Dave. I think basically what this says is it's an opportunity that now dealers are really recognizing that there's a problem. When you have 90% of any population that 52% of the population that turns over 90% of the time year over year in sales, there's a big problem. So basically identifying those things and making that 52% of the population females, making life better for them makes it better for all of us. So I think, again, this really kind of opens up that opportunity for us all to kind of have a better existence and lifestyle and other stuff. So we can be reached at automotohr.com. I personally can be reached at Steven, Steven, at automotohr.com.
Outstanding.
Thank you, sir.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
Guys, I thank you so much for being with us. I know this was a big panel, and this was it was hard to get everybody on, but you guys did an outstanding job.
Very good.
And very, very great conversation, very informative, a lot of great comments. And I'd love to do it again very soon. Thank you very much.
Same here. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye. You too. See you guys.
Tommy, what I want to do, hey, Lou, let's do this. Let's scroll up and let's just read these comments that people have been shooting in on Facebook, Tommy, so we can get some questions, some comments. There's been a lot of that we haven't gotten to. So
what we got here?
Let's see.
That's a low one. Christopher Ward, being in the car business naturally makes you out of touch with other more mainstream jobs that have typical work schedules. That's why so many leave and then come back. It's a wild cycle, but David is right. That as a better people come on who didn't get into the business by accident, you'll see more and more people who don't really mind the long hours and days.
And Chris is 100% right. Look, it is a unique industry. I mean, just face it. And I love Kevin Fry, and I think there's some merit to that as well. But I mean, it almost would have to be a pact between dealerships, and unfortunately, it's not like that. I mean,
I was thinking about the mall analogy. It's like, okay, if you work at Macy's, even if you or whatever, and you work a commission job in retail, maybe if you work in the high-end store, maybe you can make 6 figures, maybe. But in the car business, if you apply yourself and you get after it and you're in the right spot, you can make six figures without a problem. So
Sure. I mean,
there is
but the thing is that you're also up against, you know, and again, it's if you're also a business that wants to take market share, and then you're in a market where if you're right next to what you are, you know, multiple competitors, and you closed early, just, you know, then you're going to lose market share by the opportunity.
Well, the Sundays, I get Sundays, absolutely.
Well, I mean,
but Saturdays, that's shocking to me.
Well, I think that hours. Kevin was talking about hours, like just maybe.
No,
like
I think he
hours,
said they
like,
were
you know.
shutting down Saturdays. He said they were even closed early on Sunday or Friday, rather.
Yeah, thinking about shutting down on Saturdays.
He said a couple already did in this 20 group.
Yes.
That's what he said.
Yes.
Right.
So I was surprised. Sunday, 100%. But Saturday, that's crazy.
Yeah, but Chris is right that the industry, even though the industry is unique, that is unique. People do get out of it because of that, but then they come back to it because there's a lot of money to be made, and it's fast paced. It's exciting. It's a challenge, and it's an industry where
new every day.
You kind of get addicted somewhat to the passion of this type of sales. That's really not in a lot of places. Let's look at Devin Lynn's comment here. This is the good. She had a question. I'm assuming it could be he.
Devin?
I'm not sure who. I'm not looking at it. Is. I'm not looking at Devin's picture. I'm sure that I would recognize whoever that is. But here's a question. We talked about productivity and going strong while at the dealership. But when does that stop? With the use of cell phones, messengers, and social media at your fingertips, at what point do you separate? When you get home, do you turn your cell phone off and risk missing opportunities, or do you focus on your home life and hope the opportunities are there tomorrow? It's a dichotomy. It's a great question, Devin. I think that it does come down to placing boundaries.
Balance.
Because you can be, what profits a man to gain the whole world, lose his own soul, lose his family, lose everything.
That's
so
Bible.
obviously there's a principle there. But the reality is we are living in a demanding world. I was just telling my sales guys earlier that I remember a couple of years ago getting a call at 1 a.m. My wife and I were sleeping. My phone rings, and it was a client telling me, man, I just want to thank you. You helped us hit over 200 vehicles for the first time. I just want you to thank you. It was a great, pleasant call, but I was asleep, and it was at 1 a.m, and I'm thinking, this guy just closed his month out like an hour ago. Kenny Landrum says this, Tommy.
Best part about having a dealer that believes in quality of life and the 8-hour shifts, I found that my colleagues work harder and give more with a better attitude when they're on the grind bell to bell.
Awesome.
Quality of life. I think that I don't think that term got mentioned, but that's what it's got to be about. Quality of life.
Let's read a couple more. We're a couple minutes over, but I want to get in our guest here, our fans. Matt Koenig. And yeah, we weren't slamming Damien. I'm not really sure who. I
don't think he fell over.
Yeah, no. I didn't understand this. I couldn't understand his comment.
I
didn't know what direction it was coming from. But Matt said Damien is the closing keynote for Rockstar Auto Conference. He coaches salespeople who average over 100 units per month.
100 units a month. Let's say you're doing all right then. You're doing pretty good if you average over 100. What do you think about that, Lou?
What else, Lou?
Over 100?
Nice. Gary Pollard.
It's like a 25.
Definitely can get burned out if you always feel like you need to be at work, have to manage to balance it somehow. It's hard to shut it off completely when you're at home with the family. It is, Gary. It is.
I can imagine. It's hard. But it's about balance.
Yeah.
And I think once you get good at it, once you get
You already
versed
read
in
that
it, you can be, it's more,
read that one.
streamlined.
Yeah. Let's see here.
I wonder when he said Silas, he said he was a tech. Did he mean he was a service
probably,
tech?
Yeah, probably a service tech.
That didn't even count.
Either that or.
He had a cool name though. Silas Blackwell here.
Silas.
That'd be
That's
great.
a cool name. Silas.
John Costacos.
Cool name, Silas. Matt Miller.
Have to turn your phone off Sunday.
That's true. I do that.
I do that.
I
I
have
don't turn
to.
it off. I just leave it at home. Go ahead.
What was the last? Go back. Go down. That's the wrong way. The other way.
I think that's it.
All right,
So
well-
we got up on the screen.
Yeah, that's all we
Boom
got on the
shakalaka,
screen.
man. Oh wait, my wife did a comment here. I like this, and I was thinking this. Her and I have been
She's
married
active.
24
Hey,
years.
Diana, you're very active today.
We've
Thank
been
you for
married
being
24 years, so I actually think like her because when they were commenting on her comment about Saturday, I know my wife was thinking, well, it doesn't have to be Saturday. I know she was thinking that. And we're going to a marriage conference this weekend, so
Come on now.
We're already on the same wavelength. So adapting to what fits your individual situation, she said, is about making the time, whether it be Saturday, whether it be Tuesday evening, whether it's every third or every 10th, finding what works. So she was just basically using an analogy. We use Saturdays, but
Saturdays are really good.
Because one of the comments from one of the ladies were like, I couldn't give off Saturday, but it's about what day, you know what I mean? Because when you have a day off, that becomes your Saturday, right? I mean,
Yeah, but something about a Saturday though.
It's Saturday.
I mean,
An
because
actual
you've only worked
virtual-
Saturdays, but if you're in that industry, whatever.
I've worked Saturdays. Working Saturdays.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys
Yes.
did a bang up job today. Great job, guys.
I feel
Hey,
like
you,
I
Lou,
feel like
Lou, did a great job,
You
sir.
did, Lou.
I appreciate you guys.
I feel like Michael Weston here.
You're scratching
Straight
your
bird
nipple
notice
there.
stuff.
You're flicking your nipple. All right,
you guys look like three rock stars just walking. Mick
does.
Jagger somewhere over there needs to pop up out of nowhere.
Dave Cribbs looks like that old guy from the Rolling Stones that plays guitar.
Yeah.
That's
Richard Keith Richards.
Keith Richards.
All right, guys.
Good
Thank
to
you for
hear.
hanging out with us after hours. We had to go a little long because it's after hours, baby.
I see what we did there. Was that on
Yeah.
purpose?
Yeah.
Chill out.
After hours.
Okay.
After hours, baby.
Hey, make sure while we have you, Internet and BDC Boot Camp. Man, come on. You want to come to Tampa. This isn't no conference. This isn't your daddy's boot camp. This ain't your mama's boot camp. This is the Internet and BDC Boot Camp. Mr. John Marazzi, Mr. Kevin Campbell, Dave Cribbs, myself. We're going to be teaching and we're going to be talking about BDC and Internet and how to do it today in 2017. There's only 25 seats, and we've got some great
filling up.
people coming. Thanks, ma'am.
Thank you.
I can open up my garage with my phone. God bless you. Good night.